Greetings, blessings, salutations, and love. Once again, welcome back to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott, here to share some discussions on this Friday, right? Isn't it Friday? Friday afternoon, Friday evening. You know, the energies, there's always a reason for us to celebrate. And today, I just want to celebrate the day with you, whoever it is you are, because we are the world, man. Isn't there a song like that? We are the world. We are the children. Something like that. I remember that from a long, long time ago. Holy cows, man. Today, the idea of today for the topic was really inspired by the thumbnail. May God bless this Friday with opportunities to grow, to love, and to make a positive impact on the world. And as I thought about that, God has blessed this Friday with opportunities to grow, to love, and to make a positive impact on the world. Holy cows! God has already done that. So, what can we do? Well, may God's love be grown, be found, may it be shared throughout the opportunities of your day. And that's where I'm at right here. I'm feeling pretty good, feeling pretty inspired and filled with life. Again, it's like, holy cows, I woke up again. That means God wants me around for another chance of today. So, bringing forward today, the topic, sharing the life of today. And we've got our first guest, and it's another man who knows how to celebrate the life of today. Welcome, brother. Good to see you, Aaron.
Hey, brother, how you feeling, Jack? I do love life. Life is amazing, and I just wanted to say that the topic is just such a beautiful thing that I had to jump up and be like, "Hell yeah,
I'm
celebrate the moment, man."
part of that. You know what? You do celebrate. You do inspire with your streams, too. For those who haven't found their
Thank
way
you.
over to Aaron, just pay attention. Give him a subscribe and see what he's putting out.
Thank you, man. I try from my point of view, from my perspective and experiences, and you know, my question actually for you, Jack, actually today is how do you see reaching those people who would see any excuse to avoid the happiness of the moment and to really enjoy life or express that or understand others for their enjoyment of life rather than to, lambast or try to make fun of them. What would you say to them? I'm really interested into your outreach on that one.
You know what? That's a great question. It's a great question to ask, answer, and consider. How do we reach those who are just in that point where the darkness is comfortable, where I mean, it's not comfortable, but it's what they know, and they're afraid, they're not ready, they're not at a point temporarily where they're not ready to celebrate the day. Those are who you're talking about, right?
I think so. I think we could call it that. Those who may not be ready to accept differences or may not see outside of whatever it is their experiences are or perceptions, And by the way, to each their own. I would say, Jack. I mean, no, you can't change people. They can only change themselves for the better or whatever, or worse. Um, so I just I was very interested in this because I think it's a thematic of a lot of the ecosystems that we see out here on YouTube. And I think the responses to these things are sometimes so vitriolic or so angry about anybody else being involved that uses language or interest or just expresses joy in a different way. Um, and I really like how you personally, not to glaze you, but I really enjoy how you do reach out. So I'm always interested to hear how your plans include that outreach.
Honestly, it's a question I haven't figured out how to answer. Because I know there's a lot of darkness. I know there's a lot of people who are seeking answers. I haven't found my way to the right people. So each day I'm doing what I can think of, and I'm trying to share what I can this way. But to actually reach those who are really just dug in, for lack of a better description, they're dug into their ways of thinking, into their habits of life. Those are the ones I really want to capture. I want to try and catch some attention.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you do it in a very methodical and face forward way. You know, I appreciate it because I pull all sides by the fact that I create personally, and I've talked about this quite at length on my show. I pull people out of the fact that they don't know how to interpret the oddity or the eccentricism. So you get both sides. You get the people that are really into it for me, and then you get the folks that are just abhorrently against anything that they don't understand. And I can tell people it's a form of honeypot, but then all they do is get angry that I've somehow manipulated art, which is art is meant to create a spot of feeling. And I would even say that you create art, Jack, despite the fact that you are more philosophy. So, and that's based around the fact that you are allowing for the interpretation to be its own, and you'll engage with those interpretations. So more power to you. And I would say that you may not think man, but I think you know more than you do about that plan you have for accessing those people.
Thank
And
you.
actually, how have you been dealing with all the rejection of the message?
I love that question. Thank you. Well, are you familiar with the old philosopher Diogenes?
I am not, but now you're going to make me go look.
Diogenes the dog, as one of his nicknames. He's got quite a reputation from, I don't know, 300 BC or something like that. The reason I brought him up is he kind of rejected society, and allegedly he was witnessed begging from the statues. And they asked him, what are you doing begging from the statues? He says, I'm practicing for rejection.
Scream at the wall, you find out rejection very quickly.
Yeah, I've learned, what I've learned? I've learned rejection is not always personal. That
what do you think it is? If it's not personal,
spiritual, karmic, cosmic, I don't know. There's every single one of us has the free will, and yet our free will can keep us trapped in our beliefs. And so when we present something that challenges people's beliefs, they don't like that.
Fact. We've heard this on your panel many times, right? People get very upset.
This is I've actually accepted this is my role. Partially why I think my role had me trying to study and trying to learn communication better, because my role in this life, I think, is for people to show me their egos. And so I get to help others see some of their blind spots, but it doesn't make me very popular.
Yeah. Well, is popularity really your interest, Jack? I mean,
no, it never was. I never really cared about that popularity stuff. But
what do you think, by the way, it says about people who outwardly suggest that everybody else is looking for popularity, or as they call it, clout, or whatever the hell, subs? What do you think it's saying about them that they don't think that they're saying? Because that's something that I noticed that have been. And by the way, just so you know, and I would like to also ask you what you think about being called just recently, alongside me, an extremist social justice warrior. Sorry for the compound question, but I think it's funny.
That's an honor. An extremist social justice warrior. That could be a badge of honor. It's
why do you think people think? And by the way, I know what I related to. I related to their lack of being in the moment and enjoying things and appreciating others, or seeing the differences as a value. But what do you think it is, man?
Just what you said, and it's a projection. The insecurities are they the insecurities are there, but rather than recognize the insecurities, it's projected out, right? Saying you're only doing this for whatever selfish reasons.
Sure.
And it's because selfish people in that position, they can imagine that's what they would be doing, but it's projections.
Why do you think they're projecting that, though? I mean, beyond that, what do you think drives people to miss that beauty in life, man? And to misrepresent things so that everybody looks the same on the other side? Because that's the other thing I noticed is, like, some of the weird commentary that I've noticed is all about how, you and I have a beard, Jack. Did you know that? Good God, we must be copying one another. I must be your acolyte. What do you say to people like that who feel like that no matter that to be involved with this conversation about enjoying life, that you have to be some kind of weird acolyte?
The world is quite confused. That's the simple answer. But hey, we'll come back. I want to welcome.
Yeah. Hey,
We've
Ross.
got Jesse and Angeline. Amazing.
Hello, Angeline.
Hey, Jack.
Good to see you, brother.
I always love your take, Ross. Always something new.
And Jesse's working as usual.
No, I don't work. I paint. I just help people out. Work's not in my vocabulary.
All right. There's Jesse again, continuing his service, multitasking, living a wonderful life. And Angeline, great to see you too. Are you there?
Hey Jack.
How are you? The topic of sharing the life, and we started out with kind of celebratory energies. I know you guys do that often. So you feel like celebrating life today?
Every day. Who doesn't want to celebrate life, right?
Those who are afraid, they don't want to celebrate.
It's not that they don't want to celebrate, it's that they struggle with it, right? But we all want to, on some level, want to enjoy things. It's just, are we stuck or not?
Yes. I love you brought that word too, enjoy. That is actually a very important word. I've been considering that more myself. Finding things to enjoy rather than hate or be angry at.
We want to build the right neural pathways, right?
That's the key, and break the unsettling pathways. We want to change. That's something that when I started learning about our minds, it really is pretty amazing. Where they call it the neuroplasticity, where our minds can actually be adjusted.
Yep. Angeline, that is a wonderful point, by the way. Neuroplasticity and aphasiatic states, meaning that tiny distortions in the brain at the neural level, is a real thing. High frame rate and anxiety, stress, these things can actually cause tiny forms of brain damage that they also associate with Parkinson's and, basically brain shrinkage in the long run. And it's a very real thing. Anger causes your brain to slowly malform.
Absolutely. And early childhood abuse can absolutely they've shown studies showing that in brain scans, it causes as much brain damage as being in a motor vehicle accident. So, emotional things really do affect our brain.
It really does matter. Mind, body, and spirit. The science, luckily, we are living at a time right now where science is more available, perhaps. Maybe that's accurate. There's more knowledge and information about our emotions and the importance of our thoughts, but there's also a lot of science and value being shared about healing. And healing is, man, healing is God's gift. By God's grace, we heal, and we can heal.
Yeah. When we have greater understanding, then we can know more of what to do about something. It empowers us.
Yes.
I was thinking, I had this thought in my head since yesterday, so that's why I came up today. Um, we're thinking about like how to reach people, right?
Okay.
And one thing we don't really look at is how did the wrong side figure out how to get to so many people? They've obviously done studies on how to program us, brainwash us, etc., through media, all that kind of stuff. And as much as we might not like those things, or maybe somebody looks at them as arrogant, they've used it as a mass weapon against all of us. And so, how do we, if we want to look on a larger scale, how do we counteract that by mass media or whatever, getting it out there, getting the truth out there in that mass way to counter the lies that are being put out there? Might be something worth pondering about, because they've done studies to program us to the nine for their bidding. So how do we take that knowledge that they've discovered and use it towards good?
I love that question. I think there's many answers, and right now today there's many people who are doing who are sharing the truth. And that, my sister, I think you said it in some way, it's education and helping each other understand things. That's where we find the power within ourselves and around to heal and to move forward into greater things. And so how do we use the data that's been used against us? This is actually somewhat what I'm thinking we can do. We've got all the science and data that supports it supports that the way things are not healthy. And the solution is education. And we've got the systems right now, the abilities of communication, we've got the logistics, and everything is available for us right now if people come together with the same willingness, the trust in each other, the belief that what is being shared is worth paying attention to. I don't know.
Do you think it's applicable to everybody, Jack? And do you think everybody's going to be willing to accept that or make their way through the information or misinformation? And do you think it's really a message for everybody?
Well, I'm not sure specifically what you're asking, but generally what I do know, the truth is what changes us. The truth frees us from our confusion. The truth frees us from our deception. And it's through our confusion and our deception individually. It's through our confusion and our deception that we steer ourselves the wrong directions. We're reactionary, and we really don't know what's going on in the world. That's humankind today. Most of humankind has been conditioned to be reactionary and to live a life of habits. But I know based on the science we've got today that we can break the habits, and the truth, as it helps individually, the truth will help set us free collectively.
Fact. Can I play devil's advocate for a brief moment on that, if it's okay? What basically would you say to those who would claim you're the all-knowing and that somehow you've decided that you are the one to arbitrate for this? What would you say to, because I hear this a lot as the response to these things is like, oh, you're the YouTube hall monitor. Like, so I wonder what you would say to this, because I don't feel that from you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's not me at all. As a matter of fact, what I'm suggesting would get us away from this reliance on authorities and experts. With transparency and true oversight of our governments and our corporations, man, we could reform this world so quickly. The way to do it, though, I mean, this is where I've resolved myself, is all that's going to happen is under God's control. Now, I know there's power of our mind, power of our heart, power of our intentions, but it comes down to people coming together. And the only thing I've been able to figure out is how to live on my own.
I'd love to add to the what they've figured out part, because it's not information that they're not wiring people through information per se. They're wiring people through emotion. So there's two things that we can get addicted to: the feeling good or the fear, right? Both create an adrenaline that we become addicted to, and they've pushed the fear narrative. So we can push information, but in reality, we need to look at, I guess, maybe, going to the vibration thing, people, you want to feel in a good place and be in a high vibration, whatever, because when you can trigger that in other people, it can start to wire their brain towards truth that sets them free into a higher vibration that creates trust in goodness over becoming addicted to fear to keep themselves safe. Or I'm not sure how I'm wording that, but you know what I'm saying, right? So we got to look at more than just spreading information, because you're right, people just nitpick through information. It can feel empowering when you're like, ooh, I can make myself better or do something better because I have this information, but really you're working on triggering an emotions, and that's what they've figured out scientifically, right? They've learned how to manipulate us through emotions. So again, we need to look at how do we counteract what they've figured out.
I love that. My path, my education brought me to learn some of the coaching methods. And, I mentioned this before that, the method I resonate the most with, rather than the aggressive goal and, just mindset, bringing in the heart. And that's what you're talking about, being led, helping people understand how to be led by the spirit of love rather than being controlled and limited by the spirit of fear. And the idea is, I love what you said. Intellectually, it's probably not the solution. We've gotten into this state through mind. The spiritual battle has been conducted in our minds, and it's been through language and logic. So rather than push the fear, we can push the love. And love goes beyond the words. Love is shown through our actions, through our energies, through our presence. Love is going to change the world. In as cliche as it sounds, it's the absolute truth. Love will change this world, because through love is honest, love is revealing, love is transparent. It's through love the truth is honored. And so if humanity honored the truth, we wouldn't have this situation of individual authorities. We could let the truth and love truly guide the direction of the future, individually and collectively. I trust we can.
What is your first message for that, Jack? And I know you've shared this, but I like your first step to reaching into that, like for others to find it, to find the goal of that first step towards love, because there's such an arc, it seems, to break out of the anger shells, the ego, the all of that.
You're
What do you
absolutely
suggest?
right. And it comes back to what Angeline was saying. The only thing I figured out for myself is using the power of truth, right? Planting seeds of thought with the idea, hopefully planting the idea that people can grow, that they can change. And the solution is actually easier than we might think. If this is accurate, I mean, I'm of the belief that love is always present. It is here, just as the truth and the answers are here. It's just a matter of getting those within us. So to 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 get it started, showing love through one another to really help people understand you matter, right? You do matter. You are special. Helping that to happen, it starts with being present. And that's where the key is. We live right now. And so when an opportunity to connect with another human being comes into our life, we can do a little better job for ourselves and the others of reminding ourselves, hey, even though I saw you yesterday in the last 30 years, it's kind of cool to get to see you again today. Being present and being caring, honest. It's really that simple, I think.
But do you think that people have an easy time with being simple and honest, or do the natural tendencies to the noble lie take over? I mean, that's and people turn that, I would notice, into misinforming themselves, in my opinion, just to avoid. Well, there's a whole list of things, but I think reality is the easiest way, especially here on YouTube, because you have the screen in between. So, what's the solution there to get people beyond the screen? To get people beyond the perception of something they can't actually touch.
Honestly, that is the big question. You're asking very great questions. That how do we unite? How do we inspire? How do we encourage others? How do we do that for ourselves? At the same time, we're trying to do that for others. This life, the question, the natural tendency, is it normal for us to be that way? We've had a lifetime of conditioning into this world where, I don't know about you guys, but I watched my parents with a lot of fear and a lot of anger, and then that was normal. And so that's how I kind of grew up, and I carried around a lot of fear and a lot of anger, and it's not normal. It's not normal. We've been brainwashed. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, why don't you describe? Oh, sorry, Angeline. My bad.
I was going to say spiritual truth can be felt as a deeper knowing. So when we live as an example, like when we're being that light, when we're filling ourselves up with that connection and that knowing, that private time with source, that life-giving energy, and we live that knowing, it's naturally attractive to people because it triggers that knowing that they know within them on a deeper spiritual level. And that can be attractive because they know there's something true there that they're trying to wrap their minds around that they already know on a deeper level.
Yes. The spirit that's within each of us, there is a divine quality and a divine essence that's within each of us. And there's a spirit of knowing. There's a spirit of intelligence that knows and sees far more than what we just process in our mind. But that spirit is always with us. That's what I've been learning for myself.
So why do you think that so many want, the revelations to come true, want the mark of the beast to come true, want all these things. They're manifesting. They can't see beyond the fall of man and the destruction of this place.
People have formed themselves, their identity behind these different affiliations, you know, the religions. And then if I identify as this religion, well, then I have to believe in this doctrine. And it's the illusion. It's the illusion of control, and it's the illusion of limited options. I think what's happening is a lot of people, they'd rather be right than they'd rather think that they are right than change. Because if people realize that maybe we shouldn't just be waiting for some deity to return to Earth and solve all of the problems that our fellow humans have created. If we give up that belief, well, then we've got to accept responsibility. And if we accept responsibility for the world, then we've got to do more about the world. And we don't want to accept responsibility for the world because we didn't create it. We didn't create the problems. It's not my job to clean up those problems. It's our opportunity to be the hands and the eyes and ears for God. Not that God needs anything, but we're given this opportunity to be part of life and part of history, and to do pretty much whatever we can imagine and create ourselves doing.
Jack, what have you experienced personally that happens around you when you make these choices? Because this is what I was going to ask you before, because I think by example, you can kind of tell people that there are harsh realities to this choice, that it can be really tough. But I think you're a good example of coming out of it in a moment by moment living as you would pace. I take a lot of inspiration from that.
Thank you. Yeah, the choice I made within myself is I started conceptually, I figured truth is what is most powerful. You know, truth, you know the truth, you overcome your fears and your worries. So I started treating the truth like God. And that meant I had to humble myself to the truth a lot. And that meant realizing I'd been wrong a bunch. But at this point, where I made the choice a long time ago is I'm going to stand on what I know to be true. I'm going to speak the truth as I know it, as I see it, as accurately as I can and with care, but I don't control the consequences. And the way I see it is if we get punished for speaking the truth, fucking accept those consequences with pride. Because it's for a lesson. It's teaching others. It's a greater, we are all part of a greater story than just ourselves. And it's easy to lose sight of that. But I mean, I'm all in on the truth that I know and what I've been standing on.
I often like to say that people often reflect the God they believe in. And, you know, I think that's a big base belief we need to conquer, because people stay in bad beliefs out of fear. And so how do we, like for me in my heart, I'm like, how do we help people come out of that fear or encounter truth, which is source itself, right? Source God is truth. So how do we help them have an experience outside of fear that reveals truth to them in a way that they can let go of those fearful beliefs that often keep them in bad religions or cults or you know, under government rule or whatever? Create an experience for them to experience their own truth of that love completely free from fear, right? It's like the only way I can see turning this world in the right direction, to be honest.
It's going to take the truth is not always kind, but the truth is it's the only thing that's important. Many people are going to have their paradigm shattered. I realize that it's challenging, and it is real. The fear we feel is real. Okay, that there's no denying that shit. People's feelings are real, and when you get into a state of fear, you're defending your beliefs, your lifelong beliefs that you were taught your parents believed and their parents believed. So you're representing all of this history, and if you're wrong, oh my God.
You're also operating out of a different part of the brain that's actually just wiring autopilot more than the thinking brain when you're in fear, right? Like it's the wiring from the past and whatever. When you enter into that part of the brain, you're almost not conscious anymore. You're more on autopilot. This is what I wired myself to do to survive in the past and what I keep going into when this part is triggered, right?
You're going into thought processes when you're
When we're acting out of fear.
yes.
Mm.
It's because when we're in a state of fear, our mind isn't necessarily processing the data. Our body is just in that fight or flight and reactionary mode.
Yes,
The
we're in the wiring of the brain.
key to that I found for myself is pay attention. And when you feel those flutters in your mind, the flutters of confusion, when that starts to creep in, recognize and then check in. I mean, our mind's going to be overtaken just like that.
And Jack, can I just separately urge that people like read about or study things like Dr. Helen Fisher's work on where our emotions and drives come from in the depths of our brain chemically, to understand how close these feelings of fear, despair, love, and the drives really are to one another. They come from the same little repository in the brain that distributes the chem. And and these things, as Angeline is pointing out, can really drive people into practiced actions of fear, into limitations in their emotional values or interests, all kinds of things. And that's why DID occurs, or formerly MPS, multiple personality syndrome, is when people do not have the capability to deal with emotional states as a child because of abuse or extreme, PTSD. They bifurcate or multiply their personalities to deal with them individually as adults, and that's basically a personality non-fusion, or a lack of fusion of the personalities as an adult. But this happens in minute ways in people. And I think that we miss this, and instead of reaching out to them, we let them flow off into insanity in some ways, instead of reaching out to them to say, look, we care about you. There are other ways. Here's our hand. If you need out of that hole, we're here for you, and I think that is, personally, that's the way I reach out to it. But I do think that Angeline's got a great point, that people really end up in a fight or flight mode, which is meant to help you survive. You're not supposed to think very much, And as somebody who's seen tragedy in my life right in front of me, and war and all sorts of things, I can tell you that not everybody gets up and runs or runs to the fire. A good portion of people stop in their tracks and stare. And I think that is the group of people that we should all, personally, if we feel love for our fellow humans, should reach to, because those are the people that are caught by their feelings, are caught by the fear, are caught by that moment. And they're the ones who get trampled or hurt. They're the ones we worry about when designing egress, and by egress, I mean, like, when you're designing a festival, you have to design the openings for exit, which is egress, for the mob, and to expect that they're all going to run towards the center and not towards the corners, And so I say this because there are things that wake people up in that moment, like orange, bright colors, flares, all, sounds, but when it comes to interpersonal, these things are very hard, and they are, let's call them, calcified by experience. So I would be interested, Jack, in how you individually, both in yourself and others, pick away at that calcification long term.
My path was kind of sudden, and I didn't really have a lot of options. Kind of ties back to what Sarah asked earlier. What if you find out what you believe is truth ends up being a lie? That is my life. Turned out I was around a lot of liars most of my life. So the way I dealt with it was, there's better ways of dealing with the changes and the news than I did, but I was alone and I didn't have others I didn't find others to kind of guide me. But I think the best way to overcome what the world has taught us is to truly mentally do an exercise and sacrifice everything from the world. Let it all go, all of the past, everything you've learned of, everything you've thought of, dreamed of, or remember. Just let it go and breathe. Because all that we've known, all that we've experienced, all that we've remembered, it doesn't matter until it matters. And right now is the only thing that matters. And if we can help each other understand how to live present with an awareness of self, right? Self-awareness is the key to self-mastery. And self-awareness is not taught in schools. I don't know if I answered your question or not.
No, I mean, yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, I think it's a tough question to answer because we all have to go through these things personally.
We do.
We can only give the example that we have. You know, I think everybody, I shouldn't say this. I think that there's a lot of monolithic thinkers who think that everything should have one solution. And if you don't have the solution for them, suddenly you're some binary, enemy.
Right.
False association equivalency, which, by the way, is a psychological disorder. And I think it's prevalent here on the Tubes of You, pretty distinctly. That said, I would not hold it against you, Jack, if you didn't know the monolith answer here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, but you brought up an interesting point, though. And we've been around this subject about being the example. Right? It's through example that we truly learn. That's humans, we mimic. It's part of how we learn. So if we can be the example for each other's, and I can't prove it, but it's my hope and my faith that what I've been through is for that purpose, to be an example for others. Right? So like that's simple little exercise that about going within and sacrificing it all. I wouldn't have learned that had I not been through the practice of losing everything that I'd worked my life for. So I have the hopes of becoming an example for others. And honestly, we all are. That's what I realized. The more I started learning about myself, the more I realized it applies to us all. Because we're all here to grow, to learn, to become more than we were, and hopefully leave the world a little better place than when we got here.
So you don't see this as, because we've talked about changing the world and wars and such, but you don't see this as some authoritarian motion of spiritual empowerment or anything like that, Jack. You see this as a piece by piece thing, person by person, right? I mean, I just want to make sure that that's clear, because I hear so much and I see so much of it's wild extrapolation.
Yes, thank you for the chance for clarity. Yeah, no, I'm not trying to be like some dictator or tell anybody what to believe or think, but by all means, I do know the value of how I feel, how my change in my mind transformed the way my body feels. And I know all of us deserve to feel good. I know we all go through periods where we feel good and we don't feel good, but for the most part, I think we all deserve to feel good. And that's what I want here. I'm sorry, I drifted off, but with the heart of an activist, that's where my mind was at when I started studying self-development. I was thinking, if I can help others become inspired for their dreams and to shoot for more in their life, we're going to create a better world. All of us will.
What happens to the woes that are left behind, Jack?
We'll raise them up. We'll help the world grow around them and with them. I don't see anyone being left behind, honestly.
So why would someone be left behind?
Well, I only asked the question because there's so much rejection for
Yeah,
tribalized purposing, for
true.
inclusion, for self-gratification, vindication, you name it. You name it. There's an entire world of edgelords out there that think that if you aren't pissed off at everybody and pointing out what's wrong with them, contrarian style, that somehow you're doing something wrong. So I can't see, in all honesty, all of these people with this attitude coming out of whatever, state they're in so easily without fighting and fighting and fighting, because that's kind of the nature. And as Angeline pointing out, it's a practice thing, something people get very comfortable with. So what do we do about those folks that just simply reject? And I'm saying this hypothetically, to speculate to the nth degree, and it's pretty extreme. But what do we do? Say that we've solved the world's problem, we've solved heavenly desire on Earth, and we've achieved without war. Do you think that there are those people that are rebelling against that peace, inner peace, external peace? Do you think that they're going to go away? Sorry, I'm just putting the devil's advocacy out there, just because I love hearing you think.
But if you teach everybody that we're not worthless sinners and the Christ that they've been looking for is within, and when everybody feels and knows and feels that absolute love that's within inside, then that magnifies to everybody and it transforms everyone around. So people are very hive-minded. So once the snowball starts rolling, it's just that's all we need is that tipping point, that critical mass.
I think that's the key. I think that's what will happen too. As we are around the world, we're going through this shift, and it is an ascension. The energies are being raised. People's thoughts are becoming more aware of others and the world that we're sharing. And that's what it's about. As the world starts to ascend their minds, rather than keeping their thoughts controlled by their belt, right? Below the belt is dragging everyone around, raising up that mind from the genitalia up into the heart. And we will create a better world. And what you asked, the way you asked that question was interesting too, about people being left behind. And the more I thought about that, that's exactly what I want to make sure, is that others are not left behind, because that's what happened in my life on more occasions than I'd care to, and I don't think people should be left behind or fall through the cracks.
That's beautiful, Jack. And I am all for it.
I know you are. I know you are. You're doing a great job of, thank you, helping flush out some of the craziness and confusion I've made.
Oh, it's like confusion to me, man. I mean,
Yes.
look, I've spent my entire life hearing people like Baba Ramdas and in person, and Timothy Leary and Wavy Gravy at Clown Camp, and so much wilder perceptions and philosophies much wilder, much more enigmatic, I would even say, in a lot of senses that maybe everybody can't grasp onto because they get, let's just say, secular. And I would say that when I hear you speak most of the time, what is freeing is that it is generally non sequitur, even when it does come in, the Christ conversation. So I appreciate the conversation, and I also appreciate your mindset, man. And I do believe fully that these things do flush out conversations not being had elsewhere. And I think it's valuable. I think that people hearing these things, in my perception, I think it's the slow etch against that calcification in the mind. So I got you on that back. I'm always interested to know how you move yourself forward, how you move others forward, and how you collect or gather people. So I find it fascinating in a lot of ways, and I also find it that it's wonderfully altruistic in a way that is very unusual, sir.
Thank you. This is the life I've been given. And I'm trying to find answers for all of those questions. What are the best ways to keep going? What are the best ways to grow? And what are the best ways to help others?
When I hear you talk, Jack, I can constantly hear the underlying theme in your heart of not wanting people left behind. Like that is your goal because of your experience, right? And I think people miss that a lot when they argue with you. They're just like, oh, well, we have to do it this way, and people just have to do this and pull up their bootstraps and blah, 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 blah. But you're like, okay, that's fine for the average person. But what about the person who can't get past that and that needs the extra help and the healing? So you are often, your heart is on those who have been left behind. And I think that people miss that, right? It's not, and it can't be a one size fits all when you're looking at it in that way, right? So that's where people start to butt heads. They're like, oh, people can just be like, oh, you just have to stop being lazy and blah, blah, blah. But, there are people who have gone through some shit that are trying 10,000 times harder than the person who can just go out there and do something. And they're stuck and they can't get anywhere and they're trying their darndest. And those people need to be picked up and helped as well. So it's like, how do you find the balance in overall society for all of these different ranges of peoples and abilities and the blocks they have and don't have, right?
I think I love that. Yes. Yes to all that. There are people who they're busting their asses. They're doing the best they can, and the results are just not showing, whether it's diet or relationships, investments, whatever. Each of us are on our own paths. And in the future, though, I see there's a place for everyone. There is.
Jack, what do you think about the bubbling cynicism in chat currently and in general? How do you deal with that? In that I see you up here, speaking earnestly, and there seems to be like this just growling need to counter anything that you say with, well, smarmy, less than effective, and also non-engaged. I find it fascinating that is the response to this. So how are you doing with that personally, and how do you deal with that generally?
Thank you. What I've learned and reminded myself is that others reveal their character through what they show. And actually, YouTube, admittedly, it's offered me the opportunity to grow in grace. Grace is something I didn't realize I needed, but I sure was lacking it about a year ago. And I'm growing. The reminder for grace that I found, I call myself a follower of the way, right? And yet I was still being triggered, and I'm working through it all. But Grace. What is grace? It's by God's grace that I get to be me. By God's grace, I've been allowed to be me, even through all of my stupidity, all of my arrogance, all of my foolishness. By God's grace, I've been me. So who am I to deny grace to another? That's what I've been trying to remind myself.
Is foolishness bad, Jack, by the way?
It's unproductive. I'm actually kind of productivity minded. I'm always looking for efficiency, and so that's what's funny is people say they want to explain capitalism to me and how the economy works. I understand that shit. um, I understand that what we have today with the individual and collective, right? What's on the micro is the macro, but on the individual level and the collective level, our patterns of competition and war, those have, they're entirely inefficient. That's why we work harder than we have to. Right? When we explode with our emotions, we don't maintain our presence and our control. When we explode with our emotions, guess what? Now there's more work to be done. You got to clean up another mess. So the world, we could have a world, and seriously, I truly believe we could raise the standard of living for pretty much everyone if we just work together.
And it's only the greedy slugs that want others to go without, because not everybody's in the same situation and circumstance. People have gone through trauma, people have gone through, poisoning. And, for people to say that, oh, if they're not going to work for it, it's just free handouts, what am I giving them? That's only the greedy that want others to go without. Everybody should have their basic needs met. And those that say that, they shouldn't, as long as they don't work for it, they shouldn't have anything, those are the greedy slugs that are actually counterproductive to humanity.
I agree. What I've been learning too is what you said. Many people are dealing with trauma and unhealed. They're living lives in confusion. They're detached from their present reality. The only reason though that billionaires have control is through the trauma, through the fear. People concede their rights away, and they just settle for these unhealthy relationships, unproductive or unfulfilling jobs. The only reason billionaires exist is because the masses have been conditioned to think like them. Selfishness. If we were not selfish as in the masses, we would be picking up our neighbors and we would be confronting each other's bosses, be confronting, working together, confronting the people in government, but we're all divided. We're divided by all the things we imagine, the things we've been taught. It's this life we're living in. It's an incredible experience. And that's what we forget. We get so caught up in the form and the physicality of life. But life is beyond just the physical parts. It is the experience of time. That's what life is the experience of time.
Part of that illusion is we've had to convince the masses that some people deserve to go without, that if they're not as productive, that if they're not as, a member of society, like they've molded, that they deserve to go without. And that is totally backwards, because no one deserves to go without. Doesn't matter
Hear, hear.
who or what they are.
Hear, hear.
I agree. See, This is what I found too. Everywhere I've been, all around the world, I meet people and we all care about the same things, that things can be better. So the only thing that's been stopping us, I believe, is the idea, the belief that something can be done, and then the willingness.
And the greedy capitalist pigs that perpetuate that people should go without.
I believe they can. I used to believe in capitalism myself. I used to have that mindset that if you're poor, it's because you didn't do what you needed to do. You deserved the situation you were living. I used to think that nonsense myself.
What changed that, Jack? When did that change for you? Because that's a deep change. People who feel that have all kinds of religious things backing them up, have all kinds of social things backing them up. What was the break on that one?
It was actually seeing others for who they were. And then everything in my life allowed me to see things differently. Everything that, the job security, the reputation, all of this stuff I took for granted, it was all of a sudden gone. And it wasn't by my choice. I mean, I did everything I could to try and keep my job and to try and keep my relationships, but it was gone. So recognizing how little we control of the results, that, and hearing people's stories, honestly, that was the biggest thing. Actually hearing the stories of people who were different than me, taking the time to listen to them.
Would that be the stories in the AA, Jack? Like a lot of those stories?
I think that's where it started. That's when I started actually trying to listen to people, I think. Trying to connect with people, maybe, is in AA.
Was there a story that did it for you, or was it just the general experience?
It was mostly the general experience, but there was a lot of little things, right? I remember one day early in my sobriety, I was stressed out because I was supposed to go out on the boat with my buddy, and of course there'd be beer there, and how was I going to control myself? And oh my God. And I go to a meeting and this lady says, "Oh, I had the best night's rest last night. It's been 3 weeks or whatever. I finally found a pillow." And I was like, "Motherfucker, Jack." I was shown how easily I was getting trapped in my own nonsense, irrelevant problems. And then there's other people right around me who are seriously struggling.
What's an irrelevant problem to you, Jack? That's an interesting statement.
An irrelevant problem is, I guess, I don't know. For that one, I was imagining problems, right? I was going out on a boat with my best friend to hang out. There's no problems there. My problem was my weakness, my foolishness. That's what the problem was. I try not to judge other people's problems as irrelevant, but I've found plenty of irrelevant problems for myself. And so I know others can do that as well. And that's what the simplest reminder I want to keep sharing for everybody. It's simple and obvious, but we forget. We only live right now. And right now, what's that?
Can an irrelevant problem be one that someone creates for themselves?
Most of our problems are created by ourselves. Whether they're real in our life and we just become aware of them, or we see things and we determine it to be a problem. But that's why I'm bringing up, we only live right now. So right now, do I want to focus on problems or solutions? Do I want to be stuck in the past, or do I want to be planning the future? What do I want to do? Because the slaves don't get to choose what they do, but we're not slaves.
We've been trained to be slaves. I mean, since a very young age, right? Two things I want to say is that in the overall picture, there's has to be a balance, because understanding produces grace, which is awesome. But then that grace also needs to be balanced with self-love.
Yes.
And that's the big thing. That's almost the push and shove between the two sides. It's like one side is all about grace, 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 and one side is all about all self-love, 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 right? And there has to be the balance between the two. The understanding that produces grace balanced with the self-love. And that's huge and complicated to figure out, right? On especially on a large scale. Because we don't just want to drain everybody who's making it well, and we don't want to enable and all everything in between, right?
Exactly.
The other place I want to go is like a really good thing for us to aim for is the this upcoming generation, because they're the changers, they're the world changers. And as unfortunate as it is, those of us that are older that are clinging on to old harmful things, those things will fall away as the next generation expands, and those who can't expand with that and hold on to those things will fall away with those things, just like people holding on to the medical system and getting jobs and blah blah blah. It's sad to see, but them holding on to that instead of opening their mind into what is up and rising is causing them to fall away with that system that is falling away. And so, like, we've been raised in a generation where we've literally been programmed that there's only one way, and that is to be a slave and to survive in this way, right? And this is how you survive. And they meant well, but it's an older generation, and there's a new generation coming up where we're starting to realize on a more awake level that we have innate things planted within us already that needs to be nurtured and brought forth, that serves the world. And we're not just a cookie cutter world where everybody fits into one mold and comes out the same. And we're literally programmed to be workers and go against our own internal guidance, right? To fall into place, and or our own internal inspiration to what we're being led to do. So starting a system off where we're really bringing up what is already innately wired in somebody naturally, so that nobody's trying to fit in out of place, is going to be a huge expansion for the world.
Yes. Hey, Rocky, thank you very much for the super sticker, the contribution. Welcome. I don't know. Who are you?
It's I.
Hi. Welcome. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see all you. Good to see all you guys too. You guys doing all right?
Blessings. Absolutely.
Let it rain.
Angeline was just talking about crap. Remind me what you were saying, please.
I was kind of talking about how this generation has been programmed to be slaves, and how the new generation coming up needs to be more guided into what they're already wired for, to serve this place.
The next generation, we here in the US, the Western world, we are doing a lot of things backwards, completely backwards. And, it's part of the design of this realm, whatever. But the future, I see exactly what you're talking about. This next generation coming in, they're bringing in different perspectives, different ideas. And in the past, we've had a lot of resistance between the generations. I'm hopeful that this time of history, we can kind of bring these together. We can do a better job of caring for our elderly. At the same time, we do a better job of nurturing the children rather than conditioning them to conform into this corrupted world. That we could change if we truly cared about the future. Wouldn't we be working together to make sure that the next generation of children are the most educated, most properly supported? I mean, it would make sense rather than keep limiting the children to try and raise it up. Oops. Oh. Welcome back.
It always starts small, right? Even the health revolution started small, and people were like, "Oh, that little group of people is crazy." But truth always reveals itself. And when people are like, "Wow, why are those people not sick? Why are those people not being tortured? Why are those people like?" People start to wonder, and truth ultimately wins out. And it started out a small generation. Like, there's people homeschooling their kids, child-led learning, things like that, helping support and their dreams and contribute to what lights them up so that they can discover exactly what they're led to and wired to. And it's a small generation, and we just need to keep putting it in the light because it's growing, and it's growing really fast. Just like we saw the whole medical truth start to come out in our generation, like the whole learning thing, the homeschooling blew up like crazy. It quadrupled like in just the last few years. And it is going to happen, and it is happening. So,
oh yeah, Angeline,
you
I
know,
gotta agree with you on that in every way, shape, or form. I see it in the audiences. I see it in the tonality of the thematics, going from, dark intention on stage to enlightened, a metaphor and thematics. And I'd also say, knowing some of the inside workings of YouTube, that YouTube is also done with all of the negative and trying to slowly purge all that, as ethically as they can and fairly as they can. But it's a kind of a battle uphill in a lot of respects, but it is happening. It's without question happening, Angelina. And I'll tell you this, from my point of view, it's happening en masse out in the public. It's happening here online, and it's happening with the help of all of the people sitting on this panel, just by believing and talking about what we're talking about. I really, truly believe. So yeah, I think it's true. There is an awakening of a sort, and maybe it's just to a more peaceful self or a more peaceful future for others. Love, Jack, I actually I'm running a little late for another phone call I gotta make. That's actual income. So, but I love you, and I love that you share the stuff, and everybody on the panel. Just I'm thankful for all of you thinking and feeling the way you do, and that you're out there. I think it should express to other people that this is not unusual.
Respect. Thank you, brother. Sincerely, I appreciate that. Hey, Angeline, there's a request for your link in the chat. Do you mind that?
yes, I'll have to figure that out, and I'll put it in there.
No, I've got it, as long as you don't mind.
Okay, I'm not sure which link you have, but
the one with your link, or one with your name. It's the one I was going to pull up, but
sure. I don't really put much on there. I have some old stuff on there though, from dancing and stuff like that, but that's it.
All right.
I was gonna say, like every awakening starts out pretty lonely and isolated, and it starts often with a generation that feels really lost because they're moving in a way that the world's not moving, and it can be very lonely at first until people start to get it, and often they start to get it in their own awakening, and then they start to find each other, and then the light starts to shine, and more people catch on, right? So it is a process, and we just need to keep shining and keep doing it differently and keep finding each other, and then being the example that shows a new way, that shows the example of the results of the new way, because that's really the only way to attract people to to something new, because until then it's not going to be understood. And like I said, triggering that knowing, that deeper knowing inside, is important to keep them searching over just trying to tell them what is, right?
I was gonna say the one thing I liked about what you said was when you said balance, and it just reminded me to say a good balance between work and art is to be remembered.
Balance between work and art, the goal to be remembered. I like that.
For me, work is art. Like when I take care of my children, it's art. When I cook, it's art. When I take care of the elderly, for me, it's art. I'm always trying to create beauty, whether that's in a space or in a person's heart or mind or in an energy in the environment. To me, it's all art, right?
It's absolutely, and I love that perspective. Life is science and art, and there's an art to the science, there's a science to the art. It's magical, the experience of life. We are blessed. We have been gifted with so much more than we may realize. And within us, we may be carrying potentials, hidden behind our traumatic childhoods, behind our pains and our worries. Behind all of that, there's a potential within us just to,
Hey Jack, what if you woke up tomorrow and had only the things you thanked God for the day before?
I've heard that before, and I'd be comfortable. I would be, because my day, sincerely, my day is filled with prayer, with gratitude, completely appreciation. Why? Because I can, and it feels good, and I have faith that it matters. I don't know how to explain it, but I've heard enough explanations from others that by our being, the powerful spiritual nature that is our beingness, just by being, and especially when we are being in high energetic states of appreciation, of love, compassion, real care, allegedly it does something for the universe. And I believe it does. I know that we do, through our mind, our energies, and through our actions, all these things combined, we do manifest and create the world, the life we live. Now, I know what I say, I know what I feel, and I know what I think. At this point, my external situation has not caught up to where my heart and my mind are at, but I have the belief, brothers and sisters, and this isn't arrogant or egoic, but I have the belief that in my life story, with the live without fear, with the path I found myself, with the purpose of spirituality and trying to understand God, it could make sense that God has me perfectly prepared to be an example for others, right? To actually rise to a position of influence, hopefully, and to leave some sort of impression on this world. I thought a long time ago, if it's possible that God is real, why would I not believe God wants me to succeed? Why would I believe God does not want the best for me? And I'm just like everyone else, so God, of course, wants the best for us all. It's us, the people, the human beings. Through our arrogance and our imagination, we find all these fears, all this anger and judgment. I can't be happy right now because this happened, because I just remembered something that happened 30 years ago. I can't be happy today. I don't mean to laugh, but people are illogical, and yet we do these things every single day.
There's also the balance of realizing that we've been stuck in one way for a long time that we can't seem to get out of. And so you can dive into the past to undo things that may have gotten stuck in your journey, so that you can move forward. Because sometimes when you're stuck, you can't see why, you can't figure out why, unless you are willing to dive into something deeper and go there and figure it out, right? So there's that too. It's not always a bad thing. It just depends on why you're doing it, right? Are you just doing it to be stuck there, or are you doing it to move forward, right?
Mm-hmm. Finding the getting clarity on our intentions. That's what I heard from you. Getting clarity on, why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we settling for this? Why are we accepting this? Or, why are we not?
Or just seeing something. Like, often what moves us forward is when we get sick of ourselves, right? It's like, let's say you're a clutter person and you're just like, wow, no matter how much I focus on decluttering and redoing things and joining programs and trying to figure this out, I just seem to wind up in the same place over and over and over and over. And look in my past and wow, I see a pattern here. And so maybe there's something I'm unconscious of that is in me or wired in me, or that I'm autopiloting on and unaware of, that I need outside help to help me see and figure out and unravel, right? Just as an example.
Community helps. Having support, that's so important. It really is. This world, especially, I don't know, it's both genders. Well, everyone deals with their own path, of course, but I know, especially as a man, I was taught a lot of nonsense about, you got to be tough, you got to do everything on your own, you can't trust anyone, and blah, blah, blah. All this machismo, macho crap. We can only do so much alone. I mean, it's important for us to be self-reliant, self-dependent, to be strong enough to need no others. But if you can find that strength, when you find that strength, I think the real key is recognizing how lucky we are when we do have someone in our corner, when we do have someone special in our life, whether it's family, friends, co-worker, whatever. If you've got someone on your side, share some appreciation. Loyalty.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, absolutely. Yeah, bang on.
Together, we're so much stronger. And honestly, I learned this stuff through my path of working with life coaches. There is some truth in the value, the selling point of hiring a life coach. One of the major benefits is that, friends and family are wonderful when you've got them. They're a great support system, but at the same time, those friends and family can hold you back. And so that's where, a selling point of having a coach comes in, is, don't necessarily care as much for you as much as care for your success, your health, your achievement. Our friends and family they'll share their fears. Oh, don't try that. Don't do that. You might fail. You might fall down. It's important to have people in our corner who are willing to to help us rise, help us grow, help us change. And I tell you what, there's so much there's so much truth in some of the things that have been left for us, like where two or more are gathered. You get two or more people together who actually genuinely care and with love, man, ideas come forth, inspirations, knowledge is shared. People can become transformed just through that simple act. Being
Yeah,
present. Go ahead.
I would say we wake things up in each other. So when I was a young teenager, like obviously I grew up in a chaotic world. Like I didn't even know anything else existed. And I remember having to go stay with one family and they did something as simple as they had game night together. And I remember as a teenager, I was like, oh my gosh, when I have my own kids, I'm going to have game night. I didn't even know this was a thing. I didn't even know that families did this stuff together. And it's really about that this world is like a smorgasbord of experiences that can wake up little lights in us that and desires in us for things. And I think like even in home educating, one thing they really teach you in the child-led learning is to lay a smorgasbord before them of experiences so that they can be like, wow, what lights me up? What intrigues me? What am I like suddenly really want to dive into? And we don't have that without exposing ourselves out to different experiences and seeking to understand and be lit up by other people. Like we're all here to light each other up. That's the point, right?
Yeah. And what you're doing with your kids, that's amazing. It's just that it's introducing the new people here on earth, and that's what the kids are, introducing the new people to different experiences they might enjoy, different talents, different sciences, different whatever. That's awesome. We didn't have the game night either. It was you got to feel, is this a night to hide out or can I come out in the living room, right? um yeah, the game nights, I did better than my parents, but I still made a lot of mistakes.
And we do. And all we can hope for is that each generation we get better and better. And we open ourselves up more and more. Like my kids taught me so much. Like I'd be a fool to come and say that I'm my kids' teachers. I'm like, no, I'm a guide maybe in what I've learned, but they're my freaking teacher. And if I'm not open to what they've come here with to do, then I might as well just like knock myself off the planet because I'm not going to go anywhere further, right? I love being open to all that stuff. Like we can put a hard wall up to a whole bunch of things and we can put hate towards a whole bunch of things that we don't understand, and a lot of us do. But if we're really not afraid, it's not about pushing against and putting up walls and fighting and whatever. It's about going in and being like, how the heck did this person get here? Why are they here? What am I not understanding? What am I not seeing? What am I afraid of? And then you can go in and actually find mutual ground with these areas that are scaring you, that are coming into society, or actually find a solution because you actually went in and found out where did they come from? Like, how did they get to this, right? And it's really hard when it's just two sides butting heads with each other without seeking to even care or understand about the other person, right?
Yes.
How do we, Jesse says, how do we help the kids that are trapped in the technological world? Yeah, it's a really hard thing. Like a lot of the kids who are moving in a new direction, they're very lost because there's a lot of self-doubt when you move into new things, right? Because you constantly question yourself because the whole world is moving in another direction and you're wondering, am I am I behind on something? Am I not getting something right? Am I blah 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 because my direction is so different, and it is a really hard place to start out doing something new that the world doesn't understand. And it's easy to doubt oneself when you're moving into something new, but you just have to keep being strong and moving forward, right?
Yes. The key really is connecting to each other, allowing our connections with each other and with the world, allowing those connections to strengthen us, not hold us back, not tear us down, but to strengthen us and help us become more. It really is relationships. It's the most important thing we're here to do. Welcome, Moose. Good to see you, brother.
What's going on, man? I couldn't hang out at London's and not come over here.
Respect. I appreciate it. We've been having some nice conversations.
I heard you talking about game night, and you said something about you might have fell a little short on that. And I wanted to share just a quick thing about my experience. I never had a game night with my father. Game night was going to the bar after I was 21, and that's when he came back into my life after I became an adult. And so game night became pool and beer and how drunk we could get together. Uh, so, you know, my only point about that is not everybody has the game night, and not everybody has, we all don't have the same things. And so you may not have gotten game night together, but I sure as shit know that you've done something for your family that nobody else could have done, you know?
Yeah. I share these things though for those who may still be on that part of their life.
Heck
Really,
yeah. So they can learn through us, so they can
yep,
learn through others. And that way, when they have the opportunity for game night, they might think, hey, maybe I could just put off, something for myself, and let's do something for the whole family.
yep, absolutely. Actually stopping to have fun with each other. See, I was always I don't know. I thought I was a pretty fun guy, but in hindsight, I was pretty focused on business, pretty serious all the time. I'm learning to have fun. And that's part of this life journey too. As a kid, I didn't it didn't seem like a lot of fun. So as an adult, I'm trying to learn how to have fun. And initially, I thought you had fun with booze and gambling and hookers and because that's what the world does.
I mean, it's not exactly your fault. Sorry, Angeline, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to move to another topic as well. So if you want to continue on that, go right ahead.
I just want to close you out on that topic because that's the stuff that we're pumped with. Like
Yeah.
that's the stuff that the media and the people around us, like I said earlier, those guys, they met me for the first time and they're like, oh, what do you do for a living? Like within 30 seconds, it's like, people are programmed by all these movies and the people around us. Like to get out of that cycle it's a precious thing, Jack. To get out, to stop drinking, to stop, thinking that that's how life should be. I mean, and living a healthier life, dude. Every day you're getting better, bro.
Thank you. That's how I feel. I mean, and here's something, if you can learn from me, life certainly doesn't always go the way we think, right? But if we can adapt, if we can train ourselves to adapt, to let go, to change our values, change the importance of things, maybe change our priorities. If we can allow ourselves to adapt and change when life throws us curveballs, that's what it's about, because we're all going to fall down sometime. We're all going to stumble. We'll all get kicked in the balls, so to say. But it's a matter of getting back up, getting back in the game. And that's what I've learned.
I'd love to speak more into electronics and not only just electronics, but addiction in general, because this generation really does struggle with electronics, not just kids, but adults as well. And it is addicting. Even being on these panels is an addictive hit of dopamine that becomes addictive, right? Whether it's the connection, whether it's the feeling heard, seen, whatever it is, right? And it's not a bad thing, because what good comes from these panels is, I think, ultimately the connection for people who are not finding people to connect with and have these conversations with. And I think that's like one of the biggest things that have been birthed out of these panels, the best things. And going back to the addiction part, it's like these games, these online things and porn and whatever you want to bring into it, that puts these hits of dopamine in the brain and then requires you to have more and more while being less and less satisfied, is a big problem, because we're having a hard time pulling people out into the real world, because it's just not satisfying. And it's like brains, especially of the younger generation, are constantly in rush mode for that satisfaction. And the world becomes very, very depressing almost, because they can't find that dopamine they need in the real world. And they really start to get hard on themselves, like struggling from depression and what's wrong with me and all that kind of stuff. And we really need to bring life-giving things into the real world, because if you look in the real world, there's not a lot. Everybody's like on their phones, on their computers, not talking to each other. Everything's online, whatever we're getting, but we're not creating a lot of experiences in real life where we're connecting and getting that hit from being in the real world with each other anymore.
I
I
agree.
totally agree. Go ahead, Jack.
Yes, but I got the real world in quotes. I think it's a simulacrum regularly, and it's torture. I go out there anyways, but I don't understand. Say, well, just you go out there more, and you feel good eventually, and it's a lie. It doesn't really happen.
Hey, Hank, I just
It's,
want to point out how I know you're the co-producer, brother, but you didn't even let Jack welcome you to the stream before you popped in.
no,
I do that
I
often
don't.
too.
Hey!
I did
I
that.
don't care.
I'm not getting on you, brother. I'm just saying, I thought Jack was about to say something.
And the world really does suck, and that's why people do escape into what is easier. Jumping online and is so much easier than staying in the real world and figuring that out. It is so much easier. So yes, lots of people do just be like, well, this world sucks. Let me turn on my screen and feel happy, right?
But what's the alternative? Should I just hit on every person at the Super Walmart? What should
No,
I go into just run around the park until I just get bored, or just die in there, or
no, you should.
I understand.
I'm trying to. Well, hold on. I mean, because tying it back to the patterns of addiction, all of this stuff it's all tied together. What you're saying is absolutely right. People are trying to escape from the world. Just what Hank is saying. And we've designed it. The world is designed. It's easy to escape. Go shoot some drugs, drink some booze, whatever. You can get numbed in many different ways. What the key is back to our earlier conversations, is education. Most people I know, the ones I've met and actually interacted with, most people don't understand the joys and the bliss of meditation, of God, of having the light and the life with you. I know I've got friends in religion, they call themselves of faith, but there's a joy of the spiritual path in that discovery of, it's a balance and kind of a mental game of surrender and growth, right? Becoming smaller, becoming greater, all at the same time. But this world we're living in, it's unfulfilling because people are literally out of their minds.
And maybe coming from the feminine side, you're saying it's about knowledge and learning and teaching. And on the other side, though, I strongly feel it's about experiencing. So
Yes.
creating experiences over just words and teaching. Words and teaching can be a start, but and then experience teaches more, I think, as well.
It's I think it takes a lot of work. It takes more work to actually build community and go outside and try to have a conversation with your neighbor. People, they're so drained from working all day. They work all day, and then a lot of people drive, hours on their commute, and then they've got children when they get home, and the children are, they're ready to play with mom and dad, and there are a lot of energy zappers that are in this world, and so it's much easier for me or other people to just sit down at the table and just try to relax, or sit down on the couch and turn that TV on. But
What
if
about?
it's more fulfilling to do the other thing, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it just kind of reminds me to say something like, "What about a block party?"
Well,
I've been to them. It's kind of boring if you don't bring people with you initially. So I go to block parties. I mean, I'm getting promised of fulfillment, and I keep going out there, and I'm not getting any. I'm just wondering, if I'm watching my real world, you just want me to be at work all the time, because that's possible. But
no, that's
I don't
not
want any
that's not
approval.
what we want.
No.
I just put on a movie night with a movie called The Blue Miracle, and it's about a orphanage in Cabo San Lucas, and they enter a fishing tournament so that way they could try to save the orphanage. I put the movie on for maybe 20 people in the community. They all came together. They all talked for 10 minutes before the movie. I put the movie on. After the movie was over, everybody sat there and talked for about 15 to 20 minutes. Everybody, people that don't talk to each other usually, people that don't come out of their houses often, and just those little things, man. It took me a lot of effort to like put that on. It took me the effort. I had to put 4 or 5 hours into doing that, setting it up. But once you set it up and you give people a place to commune, it will happen naturally.
But is that a community or just group escapism? You set up a group escapism session.
How actually is it escapism or creating a shared experience?
Is there a
Right.
difference?
Well, it's sure that's what life is. It's all perspective. Just like we can go outside and see nothing delightful, or we can go outside and see the magic of nature and the evidence of life happening everywhere. It's
Hank,
amazing.
I feel like by Hank's logic there, I could say that escape would, in those terms, escape would be creation.
Yeah, you could say that.
A good way to escape the reality is to get lost in creating. I mean, we are creators. We've got within us this drive to create, to nurture, to care. And the society says, nah, just go flip through the social media algorithms. Go stay in the life you've lived.
Well,
Mm.
if you think about it briefly, I don't know about you guys, but when I went to school, they made us say certain things, before the school day started. It would be like maybe Pledge of Allegiance or something along those lines. Imagine how many times you said that versus a more creative, yet, similar principled way.
Hey, exactly. This is the thing. The conditioning starts in the grade school. Children swearing oaths and allegiance to concepts that they don't really understand and that their parents don't really understand, but golly geez, follow along and do the traditions.
Or else
I
you
was
don't
thinking
get good grades, you don't get into college, and we can't take money from you then.
I would say this world is set up for our exhaustion because it's set up for us to be out of alignment. So someone was saying earlier about, like getting together as a family at night and playing games and whatever, it's exhausting because you come home and you're exhausted and you're wiped and you're tired and you're brain dead and all this stuff. And it's because we're literally set up out of alignment with ourselves so that we are exhausted. We're not doing things that energize us during the day or lift us up or, like plug us into what brings us life. And so we are often disconnected. Like the whole system is set up to disconnect us. I mean, they remove the kids from us and put them in a system taught by separate people, and we're gone to work for some master, and we're just doing what we were taught to do and have to do to survive, and put all this programming and fear, and this is just the way it is. And we are exhausted. When you are out of alignment, you are exhausted. Like it's not it's not life giving anymore. It's life taking.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is what am I supposed to do? I don't have a good image of what the right way to live life. It's just not clear to me.
What do you want to do? Because see, that's the key. The society teaches us to be fearful and watch out for what we don't want, but the whole point of life is to grow into, discover what we do like. Because each of us like and enjoy different things. Each of us have different abilities and talents. So I'd offer, if you're feeling a little unmotivated in life, if you're feeling like there's not really anything there, it's because you're lacking goals. And if you can find a goal to achieve that would make you feel good about you, something that you want to remember yourself experiencing, when we've got those goals, the other stuff just seems to fall in line. Does that make sense? What do you want?
No, it doesn't make sense.
In a way, okay, so let me try to. So in a way, he's trying to say that, whatever your focus is on, and just I want to remind everybody that true unlimited energy is rest, it's at rest. And so enough rest is important, so that kind of goes into the mental over overthinking, stuff like that. And that comes back to that balance of work and art.
What we're wired for, we're often already doing in our lives, and we don't see it because it's so automatic to us. So I went through this thing where they had you write down like 100 different um, things that are important to people morally or whatever, intellectually, and you just keep crossing off things and leaving the more important things until you narrow it down to just a few things. And for myself, it was like some of the most important things to me were always coming back to health and truth that sets us free and art, right? And I was like, so I keep going back to those things. I'm like, those are the things I autopilot do in my everyday life. I love taking care of people. I love figuring out health things, how to make people happy. And ultimately, truth that sets us free is even attached to health, right? For me. And I'm like, wow, everything I do kind of revolves around people's well-being. And that's like wired in me. That's not wired in everyone. And it was just the way I always lived. But I couldn't discover that without really narrowing it down. And I think a lot of people miss that. There's like stuff in them they're already doing. Like even you, Hank, it's like you love being up here. You love asking questions and talking and all this kind of stuff. And there might be something that you're already naturally doing that's wired in you to do that you're not even seeing because it's just always been there. And it's really good to go back and be like, what's the pattern that we're always drawn to in our lives, right?
So
Yes. But yeah, I'm still just, if I want to be up on panel, I'm doing it. I guess it's good, but I'm hearing, well, that you should be doing the opposite. You should be out freezing outside, and that's the real world. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, do you want You can live however you want. Completely. It's all entirely up to you. But what I realized is each day I have the opportunity to do the things that I want to do and do the things that should get done. And I get to choose. So I started trying to find more things I wanted to do and realized the things that I feel I have to do are really things I want to do because I want to avoid the consequences of not getting them done. So fill your day doing things you want. And then there's lots of things to enjoy. But if we can't,
That's a good point. I wanted to just say that I heard a really good saying once. It goes, wasted energy is wasted memory. So that goes in with what you're saying with like, get out there, do what you want.
it's true. Every day we get to create the memories of the day. And we can go through the same rut, the same routines, or we can push ourselves a little bit and ask yourself with the mind of a child, a little bit of curiosity instead of the presumed arrogance. With the mind of a child, what can I do today? What is different today than yesterday? What do I know today that I didn't know then? There's always something we can learn, something we can do. It's a matter of finding the will and the determination and then creating the opportunity to get it done. Sounds simple, right?
What's up, Flo?
What up?
Yeah. Welcome, Flo, Steve, both of you guys.
What's going on?
Another day of blessings. Friday. It's the Friday energy. I'm trying to get people ready for Steve later.
Man,
I don't do that anymore.
I don't do Fridays either.
All right.
Has anybody here ever done a break room?
I don't think so because I don't know what that is.
Where you smash shit?
Yeah, you go in and you get like weapons, and then there's like old electronics and shit, and you just get to smack them around with like golf clubs and baseball bats.
People are more fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't waste my money on that.
I've totally been to one of those, and it's amazing. I actually wanted to create one of those because, like, I had a lot of people pass away in my family, and a lot of people with pent up anger that they were not releasing, especially the men in my family. And like friggin' going to one of those places where you just get to take a bat and smash the shit out of something is so much fun. And I actually did that for my daughter in my backyard, and because she's very much like wants to not be angry and all this stuff, try to be the good person and all this, and I'm like, you need to freaking let it out. And we got an old computer and we smashed it, and it was so much fun. But that is a big energy release. Like, I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
I feel like the more tense the person is, maybe the more they might enjoy it. That's my just gut feeling.
Actually, the people who benefit from it the most are the people who are the most reserved and keep everything inside and do not express that kind of stuff. It's a way for them to make themselves let it out, and that's very healthy for them.
I'll probably sign up for 2 to start.
I'm not that reserved. I'll let it out. I'll let it out on Tarek in the chat.
Yeah, but I break some of my stuff.
I don't break my stuff. The first time I had to patch drywall, I realized that this is stupid as shit to break my own stuff because I'm mad at somebody else. I'll just break their stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But sometimes the stuff is just useless otherwise. I need to get rid of it, so I just break it. I need to get stuff in the garbage bag anyways.
That's a good rule, though. Like, don't get mad in the house, you know? That's a good one.
Well, that wasn't my rule.
No, don't break your own shit.
Yeah, don't break your own shit is the rule.
Yeah, don't break your own shit unless you're throwing it away anyways.
My ex-wife's dad had this weird, stupid habit of throwing his cell phones when he got mad. Motherfucker broke so many cell phones, I could never understand why he didn't.
Oh, that's stupid. Should got himself like a ninja started throwing.
I used to do that.
You get tired of buying new phones?
Mm-hmm. I got tired of having broken phones. So here's what I realized, though. It's pretty obvious. My anger caused me damages. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. When we react out of anger, all we do is cause damage.
I mean, that's not entirely true. And I'm not saying that just to be like my typical.
You might be right.
Yeah, it can be very efficient. You really only have to. You only have to knock somebody out like once every 5 years, because your reputation will carry you for about 5 years after that, and then you gotta restart.
Well, that's part of the problem. You don't have to knock people out. You just react in anger, and the next thing you know, people are carrying grudges against you for 5 years. Hello. That's me.
Oh, you're a grudge carrier?
No. Everyone I know was apparently grudge carriers.
Oh yeah, I had a few of those. It's amazing how long they'll watch and wait to come out of the woodwork when look, he's in jail. Ha ha woo.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious. I'm sure many would jump out if they saw me going to jail. I know there's some who are still watching. Life is interesting. Life is really, really bizarre. But it doesn't have to be as hard as we make it think. There is a lot of good things. Just if you can in yourself, what's the word? Escape. If in yourself, without the media, without the other stuff, if you escape from the world within yourself, feels pretty damn good just to be. Because we get to be alive.
It's more so like be with the world, with yourself, but like, sorry.
We forgive you.
Well, if we can't be entertained by ourselves, with ourselves, if we can't accomplish things on our own, there might be a problem. And I know that's describing my life. That's what the appearance is. But I tell you what, when I'm not online, I've said it before, a lot of the time my house is just silent. And yet I'm constantly laughing. I think I'm
That's
funny.
fucking terrifying.
Dude, I was gonna say, could you just like set up like one camera in each room? It's just like like 18 hours of Talcott, and it's just we get to see you just laughing like at the wall or something. I'm just playing, bro.
It would be pretty bizarre.
That's
your
yeah, it
neighbors
would be.
install floodlights and ring cameras around.
And Jack's sitting alone laughing.
Dude, in a way, kind of like what you guys do, like in a way, to me, I thought of this was like it's a little bit like what's that movie? The Truman Show. Like not really, like no one's like, it's not the whole thing, but it's more towards that than just, I guess you'd be
What are
doing
you talking about? We're a panel of experts.
Exactly.
This is like the Nobel Commission board.
We know it all.
I mean, honestly, if I bet you if we all put our heads together and we were all given like one specific situation, I bet you we could like figure it out and be like,
it would be a disaster.
So,
what about a panelist puzzle room or something where you got to go?
That would actually be a lot of fun.
I've never done one, but I heard they're hilarious.
I would. God, we'd have to quarantine Moose so that he doesn't manipulate the team away from their goals.
Well, and then the viewers get to watch real time.
I didn't say kick out. You're not kicked out. You're just sort of managed, right? Like I could probably manage all of you motherfuckers while Steve and Dominic figure out whatever the puzzle is.
Yeah. And no, Hank would figure that shit out, Doug.
Hank might, but I feel like Hank is
Hank's on
maybe
that shit. You give him a mission, dog. He's
if
on it.
Hank's
I'm a
on it, but it has.
master detective, bro.
Oh, you are? My bad. I didn't
Who
realize
is?
you were master
Yeah, I
detective
mean,
now.
Moose?
always been.
So I'm a fitness instructor now.
See that?
Hey, now I
So
need
I
to
have
be
a question,
quarantined.
Jack.
That was too hot. Too hot.
I have a question, Jack. What exactly was wrong with your old hedonistic lifestyle if that's what you wanted to do at the time?
It was unsatisfying. It was unfulfilling. And while I had a steady paycheck and, you know, what seemed like a normal life, it was pretty miserable. I didn't realize how much of a slave I was. Slave to the past, slave to my ideas, slave to the beliefs that have been taught to me.
What
There's
was one
nothing
of the
wrong.
what
What's
was one
that?
of the wake up moments that you had? What was one of the ones where you're like, dude, this really is different?
I don't know. I'm not sure what you
Like, yo,
mean.
this is a new level of shit I didn't even know that I have to now. And it taught me this. It taught me that.
I don't know if there was anything really truly profound because my life was perfect. I was introduced to a lot of bizarre concepts when I was a kid. And then when I became
Like
part of
what?
the world, well, astral travel, thoughts of consciousness, reincarnation, the spiritual aspects of life, even the possibility of extra dimensional, extraterrestrial beings.
For sure. That's okay. That doesn't sound crazy.
Were your parents hippies?
Somewhat. That's why we lived in the middle of the woods to get away from people.
All right. So you're like,
All right.
would they call you a country bumpkin then, or?
Somewhat. It was my stepfather. The man was brilliant. I didn't know him
He lived in the woods. How? Of course.
well. He was also um, he was a quality control inspector for nuclear power plants, and
Okay,
so
so he was probably military, even possibly.
no, he was just brilliant. He was a brilliant man when it came to physics and all sorts of science stuff. I didn't see his intelligence because I was afraid of him when I was a kid. But afterwards, I realized the guy was fucking brilliant. In the late 70s, early 80s, he was already seeing how the programming was working in the mainstream television stations. I remember him talking to us about the subliminal messaging that's in the mainstream broadcasting and all this other stuff that a lot of people would say is crazy. But turns out the dude was right. We lived in the woods because he saw how corrupt the government was and how insane people were.
Someday you're gonna realize that I'm brilliant too, just the same way. Like, damn it. I should have listened to that greedy capitalist.
No. That you know what? That was he was a capitalist as well. That was one
Do you
thing.
see the theme here, the common thread?
Well, let's carry that on. Many capitalists I know are driven with these insecurities and anger, and his anger brought him, I believe it was his anger that brought him cancer, and he ended up dying as a pretty young man.
Well, that has nothing to do with economics.
In my mind, it does.
I mean, I assume that he didn't have anger from his economic situation. It doesn't sound like a job that you're going to underpay people at.
No, it wasn't. I don't know. He was.
What would he do for work? I feel like, is there welding like possible welder or something?
I don't
Can
know
you
exactly.
imagine having to weld beside a nuclear reactor?
Yeah,
I can't think of anything scarier.
no. As I understand, these reactors boot up and shut down periodically, and so he would go during those times. And so we traveled a lot. We moved around, and he'd work at a place for 6 months, or 6 months to a year. And that was enough for him to 6 months was probably enough for him to live the rest of the year. He was paid very well. I remember that, but we lived.
Did you ever travel out of country?
Canada. Yes.
That doesn't count.
Did you go to what's that thing? Damn, the thing where they do the feast and like the jousting?
I don't think so. No, I think I think I might know. Is that in Edmonton?
You've never been to the Renaissance Fair, Jack?
Oh, maybe that's what you're talking about.
I love the Renaissance Fair.
I don't know.
Big old turkey leg.
So do I, Flo. And I know why you love it.
Dude, I don't know why either. Probably because I grew up going to them when I was a little kid.
Medieval times, sorry.
Oh,
those things are so like, I don't know. It just does. It's something that I don't think that I would like if.
Yeah.
No,
It's overpriced. It's crowded. It's hot. It's
beer's expensive as fuck. The food's expensive as fuck. They stink because they fucking live out there.
Weirdos, like it's all things that I should not like. But somehow it's
you guys are
every time I think about it, I'm like, ooh, the
badass.
Renaissance Fair. That's so much fun.
What about the corsets? What about the dresses? What about? I mean,
some of them have nice boob pushes. That.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those dresses are more like shelves.
Yeah, I took the kids in the family one only a couple years ago, and all I remember from that was seeing the animals they had there. They had a horse and a fucking elephant and some fucking donkeys, and they were you could see that they weren't treated very well. And I just, for some reason, it made me angry. I was like, I'm not coming to a place like this again where they can't.
Did you fly your drone
Did they have
over
rides?
Huh?
Did they have rides?
Yeah, elephants were giving people rides around like a little circle, but not like, I don't know what other kind of rides. Like they were letting people pet them and ride them and shit, and it just seemed wrong. Like I don't know, something got into me where
I
was
meant like roller coastery things.
No.
No, they didn't have those at mine, and they didn't have like a bunch of abused animals either. It was in Lake Tahoe, so there's a bunch of tree huggers, and they wouldn't allow that kind of stuff.
But you could probably fuck them for the right price.
Oh, come on, man. A donkey show is so nasty, but how can you turn away?
I always wanted to dress up in Star Trek uniform and run around there looking like we just beamed down the planet, like searching this new, old time thing. I saw a video that was pretty funny, but no, I'm not that nerdy.
I never got in.
I did cut this thing off.
See that? When did that happen?
That's why you look younger.
A couple days ago. My chin.
Does your wife love it or does she hate it?
She didn't want me to cut it all the way down, but
mine keeps wanting me to.
It's coming off.
Stay smooth. It's
like, I did. I was smooth a couple of days ago. It's already.
Don't you feel like you look like you're like a fat baby when you do that?
Oh yeah, I look retarded. That's why I can't keep my hand off my my chin. I look freaking stupid. The owner of the company I work for, he saw me this morning. He was handing out paychecks, and then he calls me later. He's like, "Oh, I got complaints. You're scaring the customers." And I'm like, and he's a very dry sense of humor guy. I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm scaring customers?" He's like, "Oh no, because you shaved your face off." Like, whatever, asshole. I freaking hung up on him.
Make you feel even more self-conscious.
No, the other beer I grew, it was about exactly a year. So I wanted to see how long it would get in a year, and so I just figured I shave it off and start over again, see what it grows into. Look like Jack, fucking old Ben-Hur, running out in the wild with some bears and shit, follow him around.
I think
that extra gray coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing is like cutting that shit down. With the short hair, there's way less gray. I look way younger.
Yes, that does happen. I'm sure that's what it would be for me too.
Yeah, and I cut it off like I just put my hand around it and just took the and I'm like, look at this shit, holy crap! And then I just threw it in the toilet, not thinking it fucking clogged the toilet.
Yeah, it'd be
When I clog the toilet, I just pretend that it wasn't me and leave it there.
Yeah, right.
Goodness. Well,
Jack's like, I do that too. It's
no.
it only works if you don't live alone.
Right. Somebody else will clean it up.
I keep my landline in the outhouse. I check my messages on the toilet.
Katie, you're not supposed to confirm my non-jokes.
Hey, growing up, in the woods, we had several years without indoor plumbing, without using the outhouse.
Wipe with a handful of bark.
Wasn't quite that bad, but dude, my life, I grew up primitive, and today, well, I don't know where today's leading us.
Hey, y'all.
I was just wondering where Nemesis was.
Well, and it's sincerely unrelated, but I was actually feeling the urge of shutting it down.
Man, Nemesis, how do you feel about that?
Hurry up, you got a couple minutes to troll.
Hey, no,
What do you think I'm trolling?
He's not.
El
Prove you're
Mundo
not.
instead
Prove
of
you're
Flow
not
State.
trolling.
Nemesis he's been fun.
Why are you going to shut it
He
down,
lives up to
Jack?
his
How's
name,
the
that's for sure,
conversation
Jack.
been?
Well, it's already been a couple of hours, and it's Friday night, and in the back of my mind, I am wondering, what is happening downtown? What's happening away from here?
Vaginas walking around, Jack. That's what's happening. Get the
That's
vaginas.
what I'm imagining.
Ah, yeah.
Nah, like, I don't know, guys. I just think there's an endless world of possibilities out there that we could explore together.
Like
There
different genders.
No,
No.
not just in the
I'm not
Does
even
anyone?
tag team
Does
action,
anyone
but
even? Does
I'll
anyone
be a
even
win
pay
for you.
attention to the value of the dollar anymore?
Not me.
I bitch when I'm surprised by how little it gets me compared to last time.
Yeah.
But basically, every time I go to a store,
It's like there's a
I only
lot of
get
things that I
17
think
pesos
I
a
could
dollar
spend
now.
$1 on. You know, like there's so many things to spend $1. Like $1 can get you something of value in this day and age.
$1 can?
Like what? You can't even get a bag of
$5
chips
can't.
for $1 anymore.
$1?
Yeah.
Tell me
Can
You
I?
what
can't get
You want
$1
me
anything
to?
for
worth, bro?
$5.
You want me to explain?
Bro, you can't even get a candy
What do
bar
you-
for $1,
Let's
dude.
let's
All
hear
right, let's
hear the argument. What can you get for $1?
Honestly, right now, the best value for $1 is a subscription to Flow State.
Oh my god! That was
Oh,
so
dude,
clutch.
you know what? That's not even true either because
I
you have
was
to pay the
waiting to
tax.
shoot
No,
you
you
down. I
have
was
to
like,
pay
he's
the
gonna say
tax,
something
bro.
stupid,
It's
and I'm
more
gonna
than
smash him.
$1.
I saw that. Nice.
Damn
Nice.
it! That was good. That was fucking good, man.
Good work.
It's economics and it's economical. So
It is. And
Good
now
And the more subs you buy, the cheaper it
It was
gets.
juicy. It was gossipy. Huh?
So the more subs you buy, the cheaper it is to get.
That is true.
Savings.
It is. You
I don't
know,
know
I'm
if it's
glad
true.
that we're able to brainstorm these ideas together. Keep up the good work, gang. Neato.
Yeah, I mean, you're just
Neato.
jealous of the dollar bin. It's the best club to be part of.
Nemesis, you're not a member of the Dollar Bin?
No, sadly, I'm more of the $10, $15 bin.
Well,
it's only
everybody's
85
equal
euro to
except
you.
for me. I've over at my channel, everybody's equal except me, and so it's $1 for everybody. There's one tier,
And that is
That's
equal.
a capital, and it's nothing wrong with going on your capitalistic endeavor if people found value in what you do.
Yeah,
If that's true. Now, me, I don't find value in what you do because I don't know you. But over time, if I get to know you, there could be some great truth that, I wouldn't
At least
mind
he's honest.
subscribing to.
Well, here, I'll just leave you a link, and you can come on over and check out the value there.
I don't know how much somebody's cable bill is, but if it's anywhere near $50, $60, or $70 per month, you could just get like 2 subscriptions per everyone on this channel, and that would be more real life than your everyday modern day program. I mean, relative television shows.
Has
Look,
anybody
I'm not here
watched
to
cable
advertise. Hold on,
recently?
Flo. I'm not here to advertise for you, Flo, but that's the best damn dollar I've spent in a long time. I've gotten more value out of that dollar than any other dollar I've spent this last year. I promise you that. So you should
I'm
go
so
over
glad
there.
you
You
cut me
should
off, man.
check it out, and you should join the dollar bin today.
It goes deep, but wait, there's more.
That's what she said. Go on.
Oh, it just
Jack,
there's
what do you
always
love
more.
most about the dollar bin? I mean, let's be real. Steve's probably the one who's financed all the dollar bins here.
Hey, does it get any cheaper, or is 99 cents as low as you can go?
That's the lowest you can do.
Yeah.
I tried to have a
Nemesis-
Black Friday sale, and you can't do it.
Hmm.
Hey, sorry, Snafu, you can't use your EBT card. All right.
I think Nemesis says I don't know if he's being real or not, but he says that he's got like he's into music, but he's also very vocal outside the booth. So
Inside the booth, I preach the truth. But outside the booth, I could teach all of you.
All right. Hey,
No, but I do have some observable truths. But I don't know if this is the correct. I don't know what you guys' mental capacities or states of being are. Maybe they're not connecting well with others. Maybe you're stuck on your vices. But I think all of it's based in fear.
What is?
I think a lot of judgments based in fear as well. Isn't that interesting?
A lot of the times, like especially the people on this panel, they live with fear, and we need to practice living without it.
Hey, dude, here he goes. He's so funny. Jack, how much are your memberships? It's time.
mine aren't as cheap. I think my base is $2.99.
Nemesis, what you got? What's your price?
All I do is make rap music for money.
Yeah, and
Which is why he doesn't make very much money,
missing
folks. But that's okay.
So you sell catalytic converters.
he- he's missing like alley oops right now. It's interesting if you're into music and you're just missing these alley
In
oops.
order to be a rapper, you need marketing money, and that's something that I am a good rapper, and I focus on quality, but
you won't
honestly, in the
share a
marketing,
spot to support you.
think about it. If you have no marketing, then you're not going to succeed. A business,
Jack,
you have to market it.
Hey, yeah. Hey, Jack, can you pull up on the computer MC Nemesis X's numbers and shit on like the internet? I want to see if this dude actually even does rap, because any rapper will always be like, you could check my shit out, but he hasn't said shit.
He's
right
heard it before.
Check out my mixtape. He
It's on
does have
Amazon Music. I verified that it's there.
I've seen it.
I have 3
you've
albums.
seen
Apparently,
it?
I know who Nemesis is, but he doesn't care about me.
You've seen it?
The first rapper on Amazon Music to get 1 out of 5 stars.
Hey,
Hey, it's
guys.
an achievement, right,
When's
Jack?
Paul's mixtape?
All right,
gonna
yo,
drop?
I'm out.
That's what I
I'm
wanna
out.
know.
Later, guys.
Later.
Hey, who has
Background.
the background noise?
I don't know. We're gonna wrap it up though. Thank you.
Oh, wow, wow.
Final words, guys. I appreciate you joining sincerely. Thoughts? Are either of you doing anything later? You guys know what else is happening Friday night?
It's definitely a possibility.
Okay.
First, I gotta go outside and cut some firewood because
If you host a panel, I guess I could. Open panel. I guess I'll join. I have a little extra time.
MC Nemesis just for that. But it's gonna be about half an hour probably.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think I don't know what I'll be able to find. Maybe I could go to try to convince some black people about the use of the N word.
Well, there are black people that come on my panel sometimes fairly regularly. So maybe we
I'll
could
try
ask
to
them.
teach them.
I bet that we could I'm working out the kinks of a plan where you can buy an inward pass, right? And then some of the funds goes to certified black inward.
The glitches, dude. I like that. Look
You
at
can
that
say the
space.
N-word in front of certain people who are on the take too.
Not the
You want
N-word.
to make sure not to,
The GA.
I thought that's
The
what you said.
the ER is slanderous and vulgar, but the GA.
Oh yeah, no, not with the ER. We're talking about soft A.
Probably want to restart your computer flow. You've been glitching out pretty badly.
The reason I don't like using that language is because I feel like a stupid monkey when I do it.
Right. This would only be A. I'm just just thinking about the.
I don't do it because it triggers SJWs too much, and I like working with them, so I'd just rather not use it.
Yes, it does trigger them.
But Hank, would you be open to?
That's not me this time. That's not me.
That's me. That's my dogs.
Christ.
They're barking.
Your dog is fucking scary.
Yeah, she is. She attacked me.
All right. Well, Jack's been trying to get off for a while.
See you, Jack. See you, everybody.
Good luck with that.
Respects to you.
All right, peace out. I love you, everybody.
My
All
final word is dildo.
Fabulous. Thank you. Hank, any other final words?
Skip.
All right, brother. Thank you. Brothers and sisters, sincerely, all who clicked the link, joined the panel today, all of you who joined the chat today, all of you who pressed play at a later time or joined in viewing, thank you, sincerely. Friday Night Energies, the purpose and the idea, I think I started it in the beginning. The day has been blessed. The day has been blessed this Friday with opportunities to grow, to love, and to make a positive impact on the world. Through the opportunities of this day, we chose to gather. And my sincere wish, may God's love be grown, found, and shared throughout the opportunities of your day. Because that's what life is about. Like we talked about a lot of different issues again today with religions, relationships, and fear, and some of the programming. This life we're living, it really is a gift. It's a gift to be shared. You are a gift to be shared. Sharing yourself, it requires knowing yourself, because if you want to give yourself away, what is it you're offering? What is it that is available for others? And it's in this world of confusion and darkness, all these labels and judgment and all the fear that creeps in. Sometimes it's hard to know. It's hard to know what is right, what is not, what is real, what is not. Here's the trick. The trick I've learned. Don't overcomplicate it, right? We live right now. Right now is the time of life, and life is here with us. And we're not just the body, we're not just the form, we're not just the past, we're not just the thoughts, we're not just the feelings. We are all of that and more. We are the experience that is. We are the life that is happening. And so today, brothers and sisters, on this Friday night, Friday afternoon, I want to share my life with you. I thank you for sharing your time and attention with me. And sincerely, if you can grow your light within yourself a little bit stronger, a little bit brighter, a little bit more than what you used to be, pat yourself on the back. That's the job we're here to do. Brothers and sisters, thank you again, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. I do appreciate you, whoever you are, and I hope you appreciate you as well. Till next time, choose love, peace for everyone, and live without fear. Thank you again, and God bless.